You are listening to the ReRACEables podcast.
I'm going to give you a nice little detour
Welcome back to the ReRACEables podcast. Tonight I am joined with Josh and Nicole. Welcome in, everybody.
Hello.
How's it going?
So we have just watched season 35, episode 9, in which Robin and Chelsea, Team Purple, just didn't have enough stay-at-home mom juice to stay in the race, and they are eliminated in 6th place. We know that they lost. They're eliminated. We know that they won't be coming back. We've kind of talked about it a little bit with other teams throughout the race as they've gotten eliminated. And it's about the connection that we have. And I think that's a good place to start because we're at the end of the race, sort of, right? Now there's only 5 teams left. You're either rooting for teams, you're rooting against teams. So with Robin and Chelsea, the purple team, did we connect with them as viewers?
I would say throughout the season, no. However, I teared up when they were being eliminated. And I think it was mostly the part when she was talking about overcoming having a brain tumor, overcoming being overweight and losing all the weight and overcoming all these things. And then Chelsea was thinking about her kids watching her and how much they're going to have fun watching her go through the race. And she makes the joke about how they will realize that they never had a shot compared to, the other
John and Greg
castmates.
and Robin Corbin.
Yeah. And I don't know, just like that moment got me. And I'm not sad to see them go. I think it was their time. But I connected with them much more so than I did with Lena and
Morgan.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that they were pretty normal. I think like they had a really good storyline in being there, but watching them, I felt like they were kind of running the race and kind of just being themselves, but in a way that didn't feel like anything exciting or anything thrilling to watch. So overall, I didn't really connect with them, but I also didn't hate them.
Yeah, I felt like their connection really was in the competitive spirit that they were running the race with. They were kind of underdogs in a sense because I don't think in our power rankings proved it that they weren't so highly ranked. And I think around this is maybe, like you said, Nicole, like right where they should have ended up. But I think the only connection that I had with them was through that competitive spirit. I didn't really get that same kind of connection like you did at the end, Nicole, but I'm also not sad to see them go.
Yeah.
They didn't bring that.
Well, and not only did we as viewers not really connect with them, they didn't connect with the other teams.
Yeah.
Which affects how they are viewed by viewers. Because they are always the ones that are just going to keep their head down and run past people when the other teams are asking them for help or to work together. No. And so I don't think they were very well liked by the other teams.
So we said that this was their time. We're agreeing on that. This was their time to go out.
Yes.
Well, what is it about that? Is it just the errors they made that made it feel that way? Or was it just we didn't believe in them as a really strong competitor to win the whole thing? What do we think that is?
Frankly, they didn't believe in themselves. I feel like halfway through this episode, they kind of gave up. And at that point, I was like, this is over. It's not really exciting to watch a team who doesn't really want to be there, even though they're recognizing that they're excited and they like watching them jump into the water was a really heartfelt moment, but also kind of like a very defeated moment. And we saw it through the editing that it was just the time had passed so much, right? It was nighttime by the time they got to the finish line. And that to me isn't quite exciting to watch or exciting to root for.
And it's hard because if a team is that far behind, there's only so much hiding the crimes to say that
Yeah.
editing can do. They know they're out and they're going to take the dip in the Adriatic Sea.
Yeah.
They still have to kind of show the end of their story.
Yeah.
And it kind of, you hate to see somebody lose. Like, what is that?
I think you don't like to see people give up.
Yeah.
And they gave up.
Sticking with this theme of connecting with teams, let's segue over to John and Greg. Dare I say, running away with the race?
They literally are running away with the race. This is what, their 4th straight win?
Yeah, so 4 straight wins. Even though they're having so much success. And it's nice to kind of have that favorite that is everybody's kind of chasing and all that piece of it. Are people connecting with John and Greg? Are we connecting with them? Or is it just through winning that we, like Chelsea and Robin admitted, the guys that they could never beat anyway?
I don't know that I really connect with them. Because, like, how much of their personality have we really seen?
Doesn't feel like much.
I don't feel like I don't know them, really. I know that they're computer scientists. Outside of that, I don't really know them. Whereas I feel like I have a better idea of who Steve and Anna Leigh are. I have a better idea of who Rob and Corey are. We connect with them much more.
Yeah, I don't know what that magic touch is to connect with people, but I also don't feel connected with them. But I think they're trying, which is very interesting, where the producers are trying to egg it on. There were things that I caught in the beginning of this episode, like, it's like doing the New York Times crossword. And I think that there is a group of people that would connect with that, but maybe it's not us, or maybe they're just not doing a good job at finding that magic touch.
Yeah, I guess the one thing I'm wondering too is if you're always at the front of the pack and you're always winning on The Amazing Race, especially with the editing, right? Like, think about how much time of the episode was spent with Robin and Chelsea on their decline and their losing. I don't know if it's more or less. It just feels kind of like you spend more time in that than with the teams that are running ahead and being in the front and successful.
I partially disagree. I mean, there's a lot of times when it's a team that we root for and they're winning. We love to watch them. We just want to see them the whole time. But maybe the editors know that they're not as compelling as the other teams, and therefore we're not watching them as much. I would argue even like the Hippies, when they were just rocking it, winning they were so fun to watch, and you were just cheering them on the whole way. But we're not getting that with John and Greg. So even though they're really strong competitors and knocking every challenge out of the park, I don't know how exciting they are to watch.
Yeah, I think you're right, Josh. Sometimes winning can be compelling, and sometimes it can be just run of the mill, and maybe they're more into that camp. Another $5,000 each into their pocket, a 4th win in a row. I mean, I don't have my notes in front of me of every single prize that they've won so far, but they've gotten, I believe, 2 cash prizes and a couple trips here. What's better, $5,000 cash or a trip like they won last week to Namibia? I'm still on the Namibia trip that they won by like 4 seconds over Todd National. Which is better?
Well, one could argue with the cash they could go on whatever trip they wanted to go.
Yes, but what's better?
Cash.
It's the trip. It's the trip. I want to go on the trip every single time. I am not sick of traveling, even though I was just on The Amazing Race. All I want to do is go someplace new. I don't know. I think that there's so many places to go in the world. It's really hard to choose where you want to go. But if you're told this is your trip, this is where you're going, and you know what? It's paid for. That is so much sweeter, even if it did cost less than $4,000, knowing that it is already there for you and it's all ready to go. I'm taking the trip every time.
Yeah, I'm in the trip camp. You're never taking that $5,000 and booking a trip to Namibia.
Yep.
It's got to be the trip. Finishing in 3rd place this episode, we'll go to Steve and Anna Leigh. We've been talking about them pretty consistently throughout the entire season because of their success. And Josh, you said that we were kind of seeing Anna Leigh's decline. She's falling apart. Even though she was passing Chelsea, her backpack of wood-carved utensils was falling apart. But they storm back, they pass people, and they go from the implosion last episode to starting it off a little rocky back to finishing third.
Resiliency. They are really, really impressing me. Every time I think that they're down, I mean, we thought they were down last week. They were close to the bottom in this week, and they just keep coming back. They keep fighting. They keep working together. They keep scraping off those barnacle bill, and it's really impressive. They are maybe not, actually, no, we know that they're not the strongest team racing right now, but they are the team with the most adversity, and they're fighting it really hard, and they're doing a great job to stay in it.
They're an interesting team to watch. They're entertaining. I find myself rooting for them, even though I ranked them last. I want them to win. I like them. I like seeing them hang out and, fight these battles and figure things out. And I'm rooting for them. I like them. I hope they stick around more.
We're down to the final five. Steve and Anna Leigh, we had them ranked 13th, 12th, and 12th. Obviously, we messed that one up big time. But now, let's think about it the opposite way. Are they going to be one of the three teams to cross the finish line? You just see them. Is it John and Greg, Joel and Garrett, Steve and Anna Leigh, Rob and Corey, Todd and Ashley? Those are the only five teams left. Is Steve and Anna Leigh going to be one of those three?
What are my top three?
Okay, what do you got?
Okay, my top three. Obviously, Joe and Greg.
John and Greg.
John and Greg.
Are we in agreement there?
Yes.
Yeah, they have to be. Okay. Everybody.
John and Greg,
yeah.
obviously number one. Number two, I would say Rob and Corey. They still have an express pass. They're a strong team. They're very resilient. They work very well together. And then I would say Steve and Anna Leigh are in my top three.
It's hard. It's really hard. I truly believe in one of the rules of The Amazing Race is that we watch a multiple episode demise. We will know a team's going to be eliminated right before they're eliminated. You don't really get eliminated out of nowhere. And so, especially this late in the race. So I do agree that John and Greg and Rob and Corey are going to be at the top. But here we are. We narrow it down to Todd and Ashley, Joel and Garrett, and Steve and Anna Leigh. And if I'm looking at the two teams with multiple episode demise, it's Todd and Ashley and Steve and Anna Leigh. And I hate to say that, but Joel and Garrett, they have been pretty solid. Maybe not the strongest, but they've been solid. And perhaps we see three all-male teams in the final.
I think John and Greg have to be right there. I think Rob and Corey, especially having the express pass, and they only are allowed to use it next episode. I think that they're at least going to make it to the final four. And it's really a toss-up, I feel like, for that last spot. But I think it's going to be Todd and Ashley. I think they're going to be the third team to cross the finish line. And maybe it's because they're social media all over it and posting recaps and things like that, that if you read between the lines, perhaps that's telling you why they're able to do it. I am rooting for Steve and Anna Leigh. I think that they are certainly great TV. I think we have probably the five best teams left. I think that's kind of fair to say.
Yeah.
I think we have the most compelling. I think we have the most entertaining.
Wait a minute. I just realized, are you saying that Jocelyn and Victor would not be worthy of still being in the race?
Well, if I was about to say, I mean, of course, Jocelyn and Victor. I mean, I would boot any one of these five out just to throw them back in the mix here, of course. And it looks like we got a preview next about Anna Leigh, just to close the book on that. It looks like she's back in panic mode. She's back in negative town. And I got to say, I think we kind of like her in that place.
I love seeing Anna Leigh in panic mode.
Speaking of panic mode.
I say that lovingly, though. Like I said, I'm rooting for them, but it's entertaining.
Yeah, I think also the contrast between the two of them is really good, too.
Yes.
He's old, she's young. He's tall, she's short. He's calm and cool, she's panicky and dramatic. It's great. Okay, moving on. Let's go to Rob and Corey. Our favorite team by far, yes?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Fans of the podcast, shout out to them. Thanks for your support, for listening. The big story, I think, around them at this point is the express pass.
Yep.
Right? They have the lone advantage that's in the game. We learned that they have to use it or it's valid through leg 10, which we were a little uncertain whether that meant 10 episodes is the net because we had the one continuation leg, but they're calling this one leg 10 next week. So they have to use it. They had an opportunity this episode in which they could have and maybe they should have used it in either building the dragon puzzle in the caves or more prevalently at the detour. The detour between the scrape off and the swap out. They initially chose the swap out, where you had to kayak out on the Adriatic Sea to a farm of buoys suspended in the water with bags of mussels. You had to find two. You had to find them one at a time. You had to take a buoy out there, find a marked buoy, bring up the mussels, unhook the buoy, and take the mussels into your kayak, replace your buoy that you took from the dock, put it back in. All of that. And they forget the buoy. They found the marked buoy. They untied it. They took the buoy out of the water. They left the mussels suspended, threw the rope in. Disaster, disaster, disaster. And they ended up saying, we're going to switch detours. Yeah, a lot of action there. I know we were thinking it, and I want to start here. Should they have used the express pass?
Listen, we're down in this episode. We're down to 6. You cannot make a mistake. These teams are so close to each other, and they're climbing and falling. And what I have to say is, if I was Robin Corey, I would have absolutely used my express pass.
You would have, okay.
I would have used it. I want to stay at the top of the pack. I don't want to fall behind. I truly don't know how far some other team is there, even though you know that you probably are a bit more athletic than the two teams behind them at that point. I still think that I wouldn't want to risk the now, because if you don't have the now, you won't have tomorrow.
And I disagree. I think they played it perfectly, because what's the name of the game? Don't come in last. They knew that Robin and Chelsea were so far behind them that they didn't have to worry about being last. Next leg, who knows? They may be in a situation where they're at risk for being last. They could get a flat tire. You never know. And so by holding on to it until it really urgently needs to be used, I think is the better move. Also, this may give them more of a bump to the front of the pack, closer to our final leg here, which I think is more beneficial.
It's hard. It's hard. I know you haven't seen, or you can look in the clue box, and there's still 2 clues left. You can switch detours. The one thing I'll say I think really helped them not use it, and I think it's why it was the right time to not use it, is because this entire leg was in Slovenia.
Yeah.
They didn't.
Yeah.
It seemed like everything in this leg was very close.
Yeah.
By foot. It was some driving, of course, but like it didn't involve travel and an equalizer, or so it was kind of to the minutes, and it seemed like everything was kind of close enough. Like even the kayaks that they used for the one detour were literally the kayaks you would use for the other detour. I think that really mattered, because if it was more spread out, if they would have had to bring the kayak back to the dock, get on a boat, go back to the dock, and get in the car and drive somewhere to another detour, I think that would have been more of a deciding factor for them to be like, nope, we're using the express pass and we're just moving on. Next episode. I really just want to see them use it immediately on a task and just see how much time it can really boost them.
Catapult them.
Yes, I think that's
to
what
the front.
I'm looking for that too.
I just want to call you out, Tom. Like, we know that they used it, and they used it right because they're still in it, and the factors worked out. If you were in that moment, would you have used it?
It's really hard, because I feel like you want to use it the most perfectly. Like you want to use your hidden immunity idol to cancel out all 10 votes on you, and your one vote is the vote that sends Josh home. though that's amazing, it's not always, there's nothing wrong with just using an idol and you protected yourself. There's nothing wrong with using the express pass and it being a task that you can skip even if you lost a half hour. And I know we got on Morgan and Lena's case earlier in the season when they kind of did that with the boats. But in the end, it still worked out because they stayed in the race. And that's, I think, the beauty of the express pass.
Except they used it halfway through the challenge. You've already wasted the time. If you're going to use the express pass, use it at the beginning of the challenge and go. And that's what I was saying is before they even started doing the barnacles, if they would have said, you know what, we're using the express pass, we're going past it. Versus if they got to the barnacles and realized it was really, really hard and found themselves with other teams passing them and then using the express pass, that's even worse.
Let me ask you this, too. Where does this come into it? You're in Slovenia. You're at the Adriatic Sea. You have a chance to go out on kayaks. You have a chance to have that experience. Like, should being on the water, the experience, the Adriatic, like all these things that you're never doing this again.
Yeah.
Like, does that play a role in when you use the express pass? If you use the express pass? Because that's a hard thing to give up, man. That's hard. I want to go in the Adriatic. I want to dive in. I want to pull up the bag of mussels. I want to do all that stuff.
Tom, I want $1 million.
Yeah.
I know.
Tough noogies.
Is it tough noogies?
It is tough noogies. Sorry. If you want to win, it's tough noogies.
I think that's easier said than done. I don't know. Like, okay, for example, like looking to next week. All right, there's the skydiving. Okay? You ever been skydiving? Let's assume everybody is not afraid of it. That's a fair assumption.
Okay.
Like something like that. Takes time to go up in the plane. It takes time to jump out. But like, are you ever doing that again in country X? No. That's like I think that might even be, it's not as hard, but it's hard. That's a hard decision to make.
If you get a cash prize, you could go back and do it yourself.
Fair enough, Josh.
I'm taking the $1 million. I'm going for it. I'm here to win. I'm sorry. I'll push you off that cliff, Tom.
I think I would need it. I think, well, it would be easier, though, I feel, to use the first express pass earlier in the season.
Absolutely.
Than the second one.
But you could equally say if you're afraid of heights, yeah, I'm going to use my express pass. Is it worth it now? And I'm going to say no, you want to use it at a strategic time. So I think it could work both ways.
We will wait and see what happens with the express pass and how that story ends next week.
Can we talk about how Rob does IKEA furniture with no direction? Absolutely impressive. That guy is a builder.
Yeah, he continues to wow us. I really feel like both of them.
I feel like every challenge, he pulls out these lines like, oh yeah, I'm a swimmer. I'm very comfortable in the water, so this should be easy for me.
Love him.
Yeah, my daddy builds IKEA furniture with no directions. He's like, what can't this man do? He's amazing.
Yeah, and like, can we just also say, good job by IKEA getting unbelievable levels of shout outs on The Amazing Race for nothing. Good job by them. But is it an advantage for them in that moment, or in any moment really, I guess, to literally speak another language? Like, how much does that play a role into it? You're in this confined space. There's other teams competing. You have a way of communicating that's not giving any hints away. That's not. Is that anything? Is there any meat on that bone there?
There's meat on that bone, but not in a physical language. You have two hands picking up puzzle pieces, and you're trying to communicate with your hands.
Right.
That is a big
it's a disadvantage. Yeah,
That's
wow.
what I'm saying. But I do think that the concept of having a second language is helpful in this race, but perhaps not sign.
Yeah, that's a great point, Josh. See, you got to come to the ReRACEables podcast, folks. You're going to get pertinent questions and even more pertinent answers that are unexpected. Love it. All right. We almost skipped over. See, these guys, and maybe this is part of the narrative here, our second place team, Joel and Garrett, the Mustachios, second place. Their best finish yet. Are they really having this much fun, or is it just their goofy natural selves. Like, what is your read at this point?
The Amazing Race is about communication with your partner. And you know what? They're communicating, they're having fun, they are taking advantage of who is stronger in what aspect, and they are just enjoying the race. They're exciting to watch and they're killing it. This is exactly what The Amazing Race is.
But I also like that they are verbalizing their strategy and they're, thinking about, okay, who do I want or not want to race against in the final leg? They're having all this fun, but they're in it to win it. They really want it.
Yeah, they said that they were more scared of Todd and Ashley than Robin and Chelsea, which I would probably agree with them. But I guess you don't really have any control over the other teams because you're racing for yourself. Another rule of The Amazing Race.
But I think it was really nice to hear a little bit of strategy and a little. Though we like them, we are rooting for them. They're silly. They're kind of the clowns of the season. But it was great. Like, I was fist pumping hearing Joel call that out. Like, like, give me some more. Of course you don't want Todd and Ashley in. Of course, because you could beat Chelsea and Robin probably in a foot race. You can't beat Todd and Ashley.
How about the local woman loving up on that beard?
Here on the ReRACEables podcast. And Josh, you said it during the episode. We are fans of these local village, city, community people that join Phil at the mat. Anybody who joins Phil at a mat is A-okay in our book. But we had two lovely women. One wearing a gigantic wicker wooden basket on her head, and she was all about that beard.
Let's give it up for the basket lady, everyone.
Yeah, I mean,
I would love to call out that even in the middle of the night when Chelsea and Robin showed up, she was still wearing the basket on her head. So impressive.
Oh, her neck muscles are crushing it.
But how about, like, the moment when she was rubbing the beard on her face?
Yeah, that was so Slovenian.
Is it? I don't know about that, but it was quite a moment.
I kind of almost feel bad for Garrett and the mustache. The mustache is getting so outdone.
Oh, yeah.
By Joel and the beard.
Yeah.
The beard, I mean, it's directing him, right? He's following his beard.
Yes.
It's wiping his tears.
Yeah.
I mean, when he runs, and he has got, let me just shout out to Joel for a moment. He has got some run to him. I don't know if it's swagger or if it's a grace. Watch it back. Go to Paramount Plus, folks. Go watch Joel run around these places. There's an elegance to his run. But yeah, the beard, just wiping tears, stealing Slovenian women's hearts and basket heads. But why can't they make it to the final three? We love the dragon sounds. We love that they're in the belly of the earth, as they say. We're still not buying their stock. Why not?
No, because they seem to just generally lack the speed that the other teams function in. I think that's it. It's not that they make a lot of mistakes. They're just not as fast as the other teams.
I actually disagree. I can see them in the final three, and I see that because Todd and Ashley have highs and lows. Steve and Leigh have highs and lows. But you know who's going to be my constant? Joel and Garrett.
Yeah, and they've gotten better, too.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Of the remaining teams, I mean,
Are they most improved?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. John and Greg have been at the top for the last 4 episodes, and they've pretty much been around that whole time. Rob and Corey, top half the whole time. Steve and Annalee, roller coaster. Todd and Ashley, middle to upper the whole time. Joel and Garrett, hanging around. The one episode, they thought their mustard tasting would be the last thing they were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Have Joel and Garrett ever yelled at each other?
No.
Have Rob and Corey ever yelled at each other?
No.
This is a very important factor in communication in winning this race.
Have John and Greg?
I think so.
I don't think so.
No, they haven't. Okay, there you go.
I guess we'll segue over to Todd and Ashley, who have been constantly at each other's They'd be constantly at each other, bickering, we'll say, or yelling, kind of on each other's nerves, to put it lightly. I think it's time, though, given this topic, to heat things up a little bit here on the podcast. Let's go to Josh's famous sizzling hot takes.
Sizzling hot takes! Listen, I am done with Todd and Ashley. My goodness, every single challenge they get to, they're asking for help from somebody else. They're trying to figure out what's going on. We're looking at the puzzles where they're trying to play with each other's games. They're trying to be nice to each other. It's just not working. They're being too friendly. I'm done, Todd and Ashley. And what you're doing is you're getting feisty with yourselves now. Now you're mentally combusting. It's really watching you get feisty, watching you be too friendly with these other teams. I'm over them. I'm over Todd and Ashley.
Let's go back. Here we go. Sizzling hot take number 2.
I love the Dragon Master. We need more and more Dragon Masters. We need more masters. We need more people who embody the culture, who embody the skill, who embody the country. We love it. Give us more. Have them talk to us. Does the Dragon Master, are they in control? Has the dragon been slayed? Is the job done? Give it to us, CBS.
What an expert.
I was gonna cross the finish line with this, to be honest, but I would argue best expert of the season.
Wow.
Best expert of the season.
Yes, CBS. Yes, giving it to us.
The hair, the
Amazing.
outfit,
Amazing.
the belts,
the tone of voice.
oh, the
dragon
line.
has been
This
No.
dragon will never fly.
will never
Yes.
fly.
And then your job down here is done.
Brilliant.
It was.
He is
A+.
debuting. He is trying to make his best case to host some reality show. He's pitching, Cave Wars, Slovenia, and that'll be it. Your job down here is done. That'll be his catchphrase, like the tribe has spoken, or
Yeah.
you've been eliminated. All right, one more a bonus.
I have a bonus sizzling hot
Folks,
take. I'm sorry.
Keep the burners
It's
on.
coming.
We got one bonus.
All right,
take.
this is to rescind myself from a past episode. A few episodes ago, we had the multi-team U-turn. It literally drove me crazy, the fabrication of this piece. Poorly built in the middle of a country which probably didn't have many materials and supplies. But you know what? You know what does have supplies? Slovenia has supplies. The dragon fabrication was out of this world. Incredible design, incredible paint, incredible execution in a cave. Slovenia, I gotta give it to you. Plus fabrication really admires your work.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Do you need a water bottle?
Yeah, we need to give him a complimentary water bottle here at the podcast. Couldn't agree with you more, Josh. The dragon puzzle was awesome. They had to bring that down all those rickety stairs and with a little bit of railings and into this cave, and that was probably a project in itself, but it paid off. It was great that it was big. The color was great. It fit that because that's where dragons lived. It was great. Thank you, Josh, for the sizzling hot takes. With that, we are going to cross the finish line. I'll start tonight, cross the finish line. So it's Thanksgiving. We hope everybody out there had a wonderful Thanksgiving with you and yours, and whatever that means for all of you. But what it means here at the ReRACEables podcast was adjusting our schedule of watching it. We actually got together here at Josh's place. He made some homemade bagels. We watched it. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. We also, though, watched this episode a couple days after, so I've been avoiding social media.
Yep.
Sorry to all the fans out there. We will be posting shortly. The podcast will come up. We're just still digesting the turkey. But watching it the day after, but also at daytime on Paramount Plus, no commercials, no fast forwarding. My experience with this episode was far and away the most unique of the season in that case. Because a little behind the scenes here, folks. I'm taking notes. I'm pausing. I'm rewinding. What was said. Nicole's reading out timestamp things that I may have missed. She's reading out what Rob is signing and what the subtitles say. So we can bring the most positively awesome content here on the ReRACEables podcast. But with this, it was a very different experience. I liked it. I thought this was a great change up and a great adaptation to our quote unquote game here on the ReRACEables podcast as a result of the holidays.
That's very nice.
Oh, well, Tom and Nicole, I'm thankful for you.
Yes.
And
we are for you as well.
I'm going to cross the finish line with a little something that I learned through this episode. John and Greg, I haven't really liked them throughout this season. And one of the things is that I have knocked them for their lack of strategy. They are athletic, but they haven't really made decisive choices. They've just kind of been running a good race. And what I want to say is there were 2 moments in this episode that got me a little bit more on their side. And that was when they were going in the cave. They were looking around for where they had to go to build the puzzle. And one of them said to each other, "We should search for it," because the clue said to search for the clue box. And that was just rereading the clue. Very, very important key to the game. And being aware and listening to each other. I thought that was a big one. And then the second one was when they talked about the strategy of choosing to pull up the muscles on the kayak instead of do the barnacles, when they were saying that if you're the first team, you have more options. It's easier to find a needle in the haystack if there are more needles to choose from. And so I want to give props to them, and maybe we're seeing them on the uphill. I mean, obviously they've been killing it, but maybe they are bringing their strategic game just as far as their athletic game, and I'm excited to see them throughout the rest of this race.
Nicole, close it out.
Well, I want to touch on something that we touched upon briefly earlier, but the fact that Rob and Corey have this express pass that they now have to use at this next leg.
Yes.
My hope is that they time it strategically in choosing whether they use it on the detour or the roadblock, that you pick the task that is more time consuming for the other teams so that we really see it catapult them further ahead than everybody else.
That's a great point.
We are dying for a catapult.
We are. Want to see it.
One last thing to close out the episode. We're going to go to our power rankings after episode 9. So with Robin and Chelsea, the purple team, an early exit, by the way, for a purple team.
Yep.
Breaking the tradition of recent seasons. Nicole has the biggest number come off the board. She had Robin and Chelsea at 10, but she maintains her last place with a low score of 43, but she narrowed the gap. I had them in 9th, and so my number went down 9 to close the gap between Josh and I, but only so much. But that -9 definitely helps to get me to 39. And Josh remains out in front with a low score of 34 with his number 5 team, Robin and Chelsea, coming off the board. Josh, you've been pretty much in first place the entire time. Damn you.
This is when a master teaches a lesson. And here we are, teaching a lesson on my way to sweeping this entire season.
And I think the lesson is don't believe in city nerdy siblings.
I miss them.
Shout out to
I
Sheridan
so
and
wish
Alexandria.
that we got more of them.
Yeah, we kind of,
I think they're still deciding if they which is doing the detour.
Yeah, they're still at the Hollywood side. No, but they're having them so high. I just have not been able to recover. And Joe and Ian even disappointing there. But that'll do it. Thanksgiving episode of the podcast. We are so thankful to be able to do this together, to be able to communicate and connect with the Amazing Race and the Amazing Race fans community on our YouTube, through our YouTube channel, through our Instagram. So be sure to check that out. www.tribalcouncilblog.com for all of this season's episodes and prior seasons. Check out the Survivor 45 content there as well. We are thankful for CBS for having 90-minute episodes of the most compelling reality TV there possibly is. And we are thankful for everybody for listening and viewing and for interacting with us. It's just a lot of fun. And we will see you next week. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to our Instagram and YouTube and all of our social media here. Head over to tribalcouncilblog.com for all Survivor content, as well as links to our other previous ReRACEables podcasts from this season and other seasons. And thanks for listening. Really appreciate the support. We'll see you next week.